I want to go back to the government shutdown. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Alabama Congressman Robert Aderholt. He is a leader in the Committee on Appropriations in the House. He's also chairman of the Appropriations Subcommittee on Labor, Health, and Human Services and Education. He's also the chairman of the Values Action Team in the House. Congressman Aderholt, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us as we are here at the National Religious Broadcasters in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, Tony, good to be with you as always, and good to be on, and hope the convention is going well.
It is. I want to go into a topic. You know, we're still learning more about the Rhode Island mass shooter, but what has become clear is that his struggle with gender identity issues was a key factor in his mindset before the shooting. I mean, we're seeing a pattern here emerge. What role does the government have in addressing this issue that's creating these situations where massive destruction of human life is taking place?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and you're seeing a pattern here, and I think that's why we have to really focus in on what's going on with the transgender community. And obviously, there's some struggles going on there. That's obvious, and I think that we need to really get to the bottom of it. So to pretend that this is just another shooting, and after we've seen the patterns of this, I think it's something that we've got to go deeper into and not pretend that it's just another shooting, because certainly there's some correlations there between the transgender identity and with these mass shootings.
Well, I think it's going back to understanding there's some underlying mental health issues in many of these cases. But we got to keep in mind that the policies of the previous administration, the Biden administration, was celebrating this, promoting it, and pushing it not only onto adults, but children. I mean, so this has been a government policy that I think has set the stage for what we're seeing now unfolding across America.
And I will say I'm thankful for the Department of Health and Human Services under Secretary Kennedy that they have put a stop to any federal dollars going for transgender surgeries. And so, you know, more power to them. And we need to make sure that we do likewise in the House of Representatives when we pass any legislation to make sure there's no funding for transgender surgeries for anyone, but especially for minors.
I'm going to be talking about this later with Kristen Hawkins of Students for Life. But another issue, and I know you've been working on this as the chairman of Values Action Team in the House, but we have the FDA, still under the Department of Health and Human Services, that has kept in place a Biden-era policy on abortion drugs that allows those drugs to be sent through the mail into pro-life states like your own, like Alabama, without any type of medical consultation. I mean, what's it going to take to see the FDA go back to a policy that's protecting women and respecting the rights of states to protect the unborn?
Well, as you know, there's been many of us on the Republican side in the House that have spoken out against our own administration on this. And it's been very disturbing why the administration is doing this, and especially coming from the Department of Health and Human Services. You know, overall, we know that Secretary Kennedy has traditionally not been pro-life. However, hopefully we had under the impression that he was going to take the position from the administration and be pro-life. And seeing orders like this come from his agency is very disturbing. And so members of Congress that are pro-life like myself will continue to voice our concern about it, and knowing that there are many women that are in danger when they proceed down this pathway of seeing no doctor and ordering these drugs by mail.
And folks, by the way, you can help out Congressman Aderholt and others who are trying to raise awareness on this issue. Text the word LIFE to 67742. That's LIFE to 67742 and add your voice to this. Congressman Aderholt, we're approaching a week into this partial government shutdown, and so far, Democrats and Republicans are still far apart on this. The demands of the Democrats are unacceptable to the Republicans. How long do you think this partial shutdown could last?
Well, it's interesting. A week from yesterday is the State of the Union. It will be next Tuesday. So we're less than a week to the State of the Union. And, Congress is not supposed to be back into session, both the House and the Senate, until Monday. So I really don't see that there's any way that we can possibly get anything done before the State of the Union next Tuesday. Even though Congress comes back into session on Monday, I don't think an agreement will be reached within a matter of hours. So we may be in a situation where we have the Department of Homeland Security still not funded and still shut down technically. Now, as you know, the funding is there. The big, beautiful bill had put a lot of funding in for Homeland Security, and they're moving money around to make sure that the operations for the essential employees are doing their job. But at the same time, there's always disruptions, and you can never do the job correctly when you have a shutdown. So I think it's going to be at least a week from now before we'll see anything started back up as far as the funding, because the Democrats continue to stonewall and, don't want to see they don't want to see the agreement that the president's put forward. And the thing that's really the holdup is they want to have the agents to be unmasked and also to be identified. And that's a real concern for the safety of these agents.
Final question on this front. I think 96% of Homeland Security are deemed essential, meaning they're working anyway. They're just not getting paid. How long will the American people see the effects of this over the next week, or is it going to be basically a quiet shutdown that nobody sees the effect of?
I think that's a good question. I think that right now, I don't know when the next pay period for Department of Homeland Security employees are, but I would guess that it would probably be at the end of the month before they will get another pay period. So therefore, they are probably not feeling the crunch yet. And like you say, these employees have to be going to work. So they're at work every day. I think the most Americans will see this in the TSA agents at the airport. But once another week elapses, then I think that's where you could really see some morale being really going down in the department.
All right, Robert, I got to leave it there. Thanks so much for taking time to join us, folks.